Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. We are live on this Friday night. The Montreal Canadiens have lost 5 consecutive hockey games, 4 of which have come on home ice. Last week, some of those losses were 5-1 versus Los Angeles, 7-0 versus Dallas, and last night, 8-4 versus the Washington Capitals, who were playing 2 games in 2 nights and traveled to Montreal, obviously, and got in late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning in Montreal. Not only did the Canadiens lose, they used both goaltenders. Not only did they use both goaltenders, they lost Jake Evans, who left the game after Tom Wilson took about 6 or 7 steps before getting the forearm up and laying the smackdown on Jake Evans. And who did something? Was it Arber Xhekaj? No. Jaden Struble? No. Josh Anderson? No. But we've seen them fight all kinds of guys before. Why didn't it happen? Why didn't they retaliate? Why didn't they hit back? Struble and Xhekaj had 0 hits apiece in the hockey game last night. Why? One guy who knows a thing or two about toughness, aggression, hitting back, standing up for yourself, protecting your teammates is Chris Knuckles Nilan. He'll be my guest. He's coming up, and following Chris, Brian Wilde. We got a complete show for you tonight at 5 p.m. earlier this evening. You want to know what the Montreal Canadiens did? They recalled Florian Xhekaj from the Laval Rocket. Speaking of the Rocket, they beat the Belleville Senators probably about 20 minutes ago in overtime on a game winner by Adam Engstrom. Also 1 goal and 1 assist for David Reinbacher. We'll talk about the Montreal Canadiens. I'll also play clips of an interview I had with Laval Rocket goaltender Jacob Fowler. We got a jam-packed show on this Friday Night Live Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 All in, we came in to win.
because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they work the young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Friday night. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm happy to be with you. We are live tonight. We are absolutely live. And Chris Nilan is going to join me in just a couple of minutes. Not before I talk to you about some of our sponsors. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset like 3PL, driven to be different from cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States. Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, and powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. It's hockey night at Playground. As if watching hockey wasn't thrilling enough, now every goal means more action on the felt before the puck drops. Every poker table is randomly assigned the player from Montreal. When your player scores, boom, Playground splashes the next pot with up to $200 in chips. Catch every game on Playground's big screens all around the room so you never miss a goal, a play, or a splash pot. And when Montreal wins, every signed-in cash game played. Thank you very much to Playground. Who do you have tomorrow night between the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs? We'll talk about it in just a couple of minutes. But of course, earlier today and all of today, this afternoon, and even right now, there's a couple of topics of conversation. One is what in the world is going on with the Montreal Canadiens goaltending situation. Two is what in the world is going on with the Montreal Canadiens play. They've lost 5 straight games, 4 of which are on home ice, have been on home ice. And 3, how do you get manhandled and physically abused by Tom Wilson again and not respond at all? We've talked about team unity. We've talked about Wolfpack mentality. We've seen it in the past. It was very odd that we didn't see it last night, especially versus an opponent that did the same thing to the Montreal Canadiens last year in the playoffs. And the Canadiens leading up to this game, we remember what happened in the playoffs. We want to show we're ready. This is a revenge game for us. We got to be ready. They're not going to do the same thing to us, yada, 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 all that stuff. And guess what? The Capitals did the exact same thing. One guy that must have been absolutely livid watching the game last night, because Lord knows, had he been in the lineup and that would have been his time, he would have done something about it. Chris Knuckles Nilan. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, Tony. How are you?
Very good, Chris. Nice to see you too, Chris. Always a pleasure. I love you, man. Everybody has an opinion on what happened last night and why the Montreal Canadiens didn't respond. If there's somebody who knows better than anyone else what the role is all about, how those players are feeling, why they probably were in the mood or weren't in the mood, why they wanted to do something or didn't do something, Chris, give me your thoughts on all of it.
Yeah, geez, I like to get into the coach's head a little bit with dealing with some of these players. I'm sure he doesn't mind that play to an extent because sometimes it's needed. I'm sure he doesn't want to tell anybody to go and do it. And I'm almost positive he told guys not to do it at times. Okay? So anytime you have hesitation as a player like that, who fills that role or can fill that role, it's not a good thing. If you are in your head thinking, can I do this now? Should I do this now? I'll take you back to Ottawa. Habs are up 2-0. McDermott wants Xhekaj to fight. Xhekaj doesn't fight. I'm certainly almost positive the coach told him, don't fight that guy. We're up 2-0. Don't bother with him. Okay? When you have a player like that, sometimes you have to let him go. Just let him go. Let him go. And let him do what he does. I'm not making excuses for Arber or Josh Anderson or Jaden Struble, who probably could have done something. If you really want to fight a guy, and you can get him to fight, and I'll just say this. Look, what they take, 4 high-sticking penalties, offensive zone penalties, these shitty little penalties, and then what happens? Well, okay, now things are bad. I want to go fight Wilson, but I know he won't fight. Well, you know what? Sucker punch him with your glove on. You'll get him to fight. Sucker him. And if you take the 2 minutes, you take the 2 minutes and he doesn't do anything. Oh, well, he doesn't. You tried. And if you take the extra 2 and you get him to fight, well, okay, there you go. But you can get anybody to fight if you really want to. I think that it's not a good look for that team. Come on. But when you really look at the bottom line, and again, a false sense of where they are as a team, maybe. Look, they make the playoffs on the last day of the season against a team that sat out 5 players. That probably would have beat them handily that last game of the season. They get in the playoffs. They go up against a team that really, listen, I give them credit for that intensity and it's playoffs, but, they fell short. They gave the best they could. It was awesome. It was awesome. They come in this year. They come out of the gate flying. Everybody's happy. Everybody's excited. And then they end up running into a couple of teams, LA Kings, Dallas Stars, the Bruins, and the Capitals. They give up 23 goals in 4 games, okay? We can talk about the goaltending, okay? Hasn't been the sharpest. But this team, defensively, does not play well. It goes back to last year. There were times against certain teams they play well. They play pretty well defensively. They got the goaltending too. And they're not getting it now. They're weak in their own end. I always thought this is their Achilles heel in their own end of the ring. They have to score off the rush, right? The odd time off the cycle or on the power play, or they're going to be in trouble. They're going to be in trouble. They got one line that really good 5-on-5 scoring. The rest, so-so.
Chris, there's a lot here, so I'm going to try and tackle everything into segments. There's a lot here about their defensive coverage or lack thereof, their defensive system. They need to score off the rush. Xhekaj doesn't give McDermott the fight. Probably a couple of guys wanted to go last night. They didn't. The coach probably never told anyone to go, but he probably told guys when not to go. Let's break it all down. I want to go back 3 weeks if I can. Saturday night game versus the Ottawa Senators at home at the Bell Center. Zachary Bolduc checks Jake Sanderson into the Montreal Canadiens bench. McDermott takes a couple of shots at him. He gets called. He goes to the penalty box. Canadiens are up 2 goals. McDermott wants to get the momentum back for his team. He wants to try and do something. He invites Arber to dance. Arber looks at him. No, thanks. I'm not going to go with you. I'm not going to waste my time. Points to the scoreboard. We're up 2-0, he says to him. Ottawa takes a 3-2 lead. The Canadiens tie it up late. The Montreal Canadiens end up winning the game in overtime. Last night, Tom Wilson's team was up 2 goals. Arber Xhekaj supposedly wants to go with him after he hits Jake Evans, and Tom Wilson says thanks, but no thanks. So now, it begs the question. You know as well as I do that Arber is not scared of anybody, that I'm sure Arber will not back down from anybody. Having said that, the fights have not gone his way this year. Headlocked by Lyubushkin, it's no big deal. Carrick holds his own, probably a draw, loses a fight to Delorier and loses a fight to Tanner Janot. Mind you, they're pretty big boys too. But so now, why doesn't Arber do something? Let's hear from Marty St. Louis. Maybe he answered the question for us earlier today.
Je pose cette question-là, c'est pour ça que je veux te la poser. Suite au coup sur Evans, est-ce que tu penses, comme coach, que la réaction...
I'm not worried about that now.
Est-ce que les gens se posent cette question-là, c'est pour ça que je vais te la poser. Suite au coup sur Evans, est-ce que tu penses, comme coach, que la réaction a été adéquate?
Je pense que les gars, ils ont essayé. Je pense qu'ils voulaient pas. Puis, tu sais, le match était encore à portée. Fait que, tu sais, il y a des situations de contexte, des fois, que, tu sais, tu essaies de le faire, mais de manière intelligente.
Okay. Martin McGuire of Cogeco 98.5 says, people are asking and they're wondering about it, so I'm going to ask you. After the hit from Tom Wilson on Jake Evans, what did you think of the fact that there was no response from your team? And he says, listen, I think guys tried, but he didn't want to go. And there's a context here. There's a score. The game was within reach. Yeah. It leads me to believe that they're down 2 goals. Marty doesn't want to see Arber get an instigator or Struble or Anderson, because if they do, that's 2 minutes less that they're going to be, at even strength. And should Washington score and they go up 3 goals, the game is over. So you can't do that. You know it's better than I do. I can't wait to hear what you have to say, but I have an opinion on this too. My opinion is, if you end up taking an instigator and they do score and they win the game, so be it. I think it's an investment over the course of the season.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And you gotta, and I sense this coming from the coach, because, come on, like, they're up 2 goals. Don't fight him, Arber. Don't fight. Arber has lost his swagger a little bit, and he's got to get it back. And listen, yeah, he did fight some big guys, but it seemed a little tentative, like going in, like, and
you worried about him, Chris, when a fighter like that, who was nicknamed the Sheriff, when he got into the league, and you see that he's no longer the baddest man in town, and he hasn't scared anybody thus far this season, except for preseason, of course, when he laid the smackdown on the Ottawa Senators. Are you worried about, like, when you lose that swagger, Chris, when you lose that confidence, or you get tagged once or twice and you know what it feels like to get knocked down, how hard is it to bounce back?
Well, you got to bounce back right away. You can't wait around and think about it. Well, when am I? And again, we're talking about a different era, but the same mindset, right? You got to have that mindset. You can't lose that. You got to bounce back right away. And, if I lose a fight in a game, I'm fighting right again. I'm not waiting until the next game. I'm not waiting until next year. Right? But again, yeah, it's different. We talk about what Marty said there. The game's still in reach. It's 5-3. Who gives a shit about the game? Who gives a shit about and I say this, and yeah, you want to win. I get that. But at what expense? The expense that everybody's seeing your team get manhandled, beat up. One of your best penalty killers, a checking center iceman, a good face-off man, a leader on this team, a veteran, elbowed in the head by that guy, and no one does nothing. And that shit travels. It travels. People know that. And listen, like I said, if somebody wanted to get Tom Wilson, there's a way of doing it. And if you don't know how to do that, well,
perfect. So now I want to ask you this. So I think it's an investment if he would have done something, right? Because like you said, so if Arber invites Tom Wilson to dance and Tom Wilson says no. So what happens the next game? Tom Wilson hits somebody again, knocks another Canadiens player out. You invite him to dance. He says no. Okay, so you don't do anything. It keeps on happening over and over. You can't. You got to put a stop to that. And like you said, you got to send a message to the whole league. But some guys are better than this job than others. You were the best at it. When he invites Tom Wilson to dance and Wilson says, no, thank you. A, I'm up by 2 goals. B, I'm a lot better player than you. C, I don't have to. What does he have to do to get Wilson to drop the gloves? Because I'm starting to think that he still has a lot to learn in getting guys to drop the gloves when they don't want to. There's things that he can do, and not necessarily towards Wilson, correct? Towards others.
Yeah, towards others. Or, again, you can line up against that guy in the face-off and talk to him, and he doesn't want to go. When the puck drops, come up and give him a backhander right in the jaw as hard as you can. and stun him, and then drop your gloves and give it to him. And if he doesn't fight, he doesn't fight. Nothing you can do. But you're sending a message. Sometimes you got to make that investment to send that message. And right now, it's just not happening. And, listen, do I think Wilson's scared? No, I don't. But boy, when a guy can run around like that and nobody does anything, like, hello, I find it chicken shit because it's all this. We're worried about the 2 minutes, the extra 2. There's so many goddamn stupid penalties in the game that you see, these half-ass offensive zone penalties, and they're worried about taking a 2-minute instigator penalty. Will you stop?
And obviously that's what they're worried about, right? Because they could have easily gone to John Carlson or Dylan Strome, for example, and laid the smackdown on them. And then Wilson has to, but they don't want to do it because they don't want to get a penalty. They probably don't want to get a penalty because the coach is going to get upset if they take a penalty.
There you go. And again, it's the score. Be smart, watch the scoreboard. But here's the deal. Like I said, at some point, you got to make that your mind up as that player. Are you going to take some risk? Now, we've seen Arber get sent down here, right?
Yeah, 17
games. Back up, didn't play, sent down again, didn't start in the playoffs last year, right?
Correct. The first 2 games.
So I think, and I'm not making excuses for him, but I think he's a little hesitant. I think he's unsure at times.
And Chris, you're right. We're not making excuses for Arber Xhekaj because, look, he's not perfect. He's a 6th, 7th defenseman in the National Hockey League. Yeah. There's absolutely no shame in that. There is a stat that bothers me, all right? In 19 games, he has 27 hits. Do you think that's a byproduct of being denatured?
Being what?
Well? Do you think that the 27 hits in 19 games, let's face it, he's going to have to hit more than that, right? These are the lowest numbers he's had in terms of hits per game since he's been in the National Hockey League. Do you think the fact that he's not able to do what he always wants to do because the coach could be on him? Last year, in the past, he's taken a couple of penalties, and he actually admitted to going into the office at one point and apologizing to the coaches for taking a couple of penalties, I believe, versus the Islanders, and actually was scratched the next game, right? So because of everything that's transpired, do you think it's kind of taken away that aggression even towards hitting? It's kind of like he's so hesitant and tentative, not only to fight, not only to get an instigator, but even to take the body?
Maybe not so much. Here's the deal. A big guy like that, as big as he is, at times can have difficulty hitting some of those smaller players, right? When you're closing on a guy in the corner, he's real shifty and elusive, and you try to drop your shoulder and miss, like, hello. So to contain someone like Chara was able to do, even when he didn't hit Chara, he used his range to contain guys. He was pretty good at his positioning. Yeah. And Arber isn't nowhere near that yet when you think about being able to snuff plays out and finish them. The bigger players, there's no excuse for not hitting them. But I think some of them smaller, shifty guys against them has a difficult time.
Chris, to be honest, let's put the cards on the table. At playing 11 minutes on average per game and being a third-pairing defenseman, chances are he's going up against bigger guys than he is going up against smaller guys, right?
True. Yeah. So, yeah, that stat should be more. He should have 5 hits a game, easily, 5 a game. What I will say too, he's a much better skater north and south than east and west.
Yes,
that foot movement, closing on guys, and I'll go back to another thing that I've never liked this. I've never liked when guys do that. Right? Remember when you beat a guy, man, go to the penalty box. Sit your ass down. If you got something to say to him and you got an argument, fine. But when you do this and strum up the crowd, it's coming someday. It's coming your way someday. You're going to get it someday. And you're not going to be doing this.
Humble in victory and humble in defeat when you fight?
Yeah. Like, go to the box, have a seat, catch your breath, get ready to go again. And I've always... like I said, I love guys who do that job, when you snuff someone out, don't show them up. Don't make, go to the box. And because it can come back to bite you.
Okay, now, but for everyone who says, yeah, Marty St. Louis probably doesn't like the tough physical player, probably doesn't like the fighting, probably doesn't like this or that, a lot of fans got what they wanted at 5 p.m. earlier this evening. We'll take a look at the tweet from the Laval Rocket. And there you have it. Florian Xhekaj called up at 5 p.m. So now, Christo, try and explain this to me. Florian can play all three forward positions. He may replace Jake Evans in the lineup because Evans had a therapy day today, but it's possible that he plays tomorrow. And if Jake Evans will play, well, Florian Xhekaj is going to take someone's spot in the lineup anyway, because let's face it, the Canadiens recalled Xhekaj before Laval Rocket's game tonight so that he didn't play it because they obviously wanted him fresh for tomorrow because he's going to play tomorrow versus the Leafs. So now, if you have Davidson in your lineup who can take care of himself, and you have Struble, Xhekaj, and Anderson who can take care of themselves, but nobody did anything, what's the expectation for Florian Xhekaj? I'm not so sure I understand. And do you think he comes up saying, am I supposed to be the savior, pugilistically speaking here? Are they expecting me to fight? What are they expecting me to do? And I would imagine they're going to tell him what they expect from him. But how do you view this, Chris?
Well, listen, I saw him play in training camp. We saw what he did last year. I think he has to do the things that got him here, got him to this level, right? Now, when he gets here and he sits down with the coach, what does the coach say to him? Does he say, listen, I want you to play the way you played down there? And does he have any questions for the coach? Well, is it okay if I got to fight, can I fight? Does he ask him that? Because I'm sure he's talked to his brother about those things. And he's a forward. Listen, I'd love to see him come up here and just go play the type of hockey that made him successful down there.
I would imagine the coach is going to ask him, hey, play your game, bring energy, finish your hits, be the first on the forecheck, play a defensively responsible game. Don't go looking for stuff.
But if you got to go. Like, don't take it away from him. And again, listen, this is a different team, the makeup of the team. Yeah, they have some toughness there. They also have some small players. And, that turns around to getting – there's a more offensive-minded team. They take a lot of risk, and it bites them.
You know what I like about this, Chris? Not only the fact that I like Florian Xhekaj, and he gives you everything, and not only the fact that he's a good team guy, he could be the spark plug that they need right now. He's got to come in. He's got to bring energy, right? But it's going to get everyone on their toes, right? Oh, this guy's getting called up here. You know what? Maybe we got to move, right? And others are going to start to – I think he's going to bring others in the fight. And you know what? He could be exactly what his brother Arber needs right now. Arber looks like the most demoralized hockey player in the National Hockey League this year. Like, I don't know if he is or if he's not, and I'm probably exaggerating to make a point, but his brother coming could probably re-energize him, right?
I would think a little bit. He should be happy he's here, but again, I like it. But again, the team is depleted injury-wise. They're bringing guys into lineup. And that's okay. I get at this time you have to play some high risk hockey and take some risk, but boy, I think they overdo it. I think their mindset is so much more offense. The way it shows on the ice, they're still in their own end of the rink. Boy, they get manhandled. They get outworked. They end up on the weak side a lot. And we can blame – listen, the goalies haven't been that great. I get it. But, boy, they give up a lot of very good scoring opportunities.
Chris,
and I don't care who you are. People are talking, bring Fowler up.
Yeah.
Bring Fowler up. Don't screw Fowler up.
I agree with you. I wouldn't bring him up. I wouldn't bring him up. Yeah, I wouldn't. I agree with you 100%, Chris. And Marty St. Louis admitted earlier today that the last 10 days has felt like 14 months ago. Like those losses that they had in October last year, where they gave up 6 in Boston, 6 versus Pittsburgh, 7 versus the Rangers, 8 versus Seattle, 6 in Washington, and then the middle of December they gave up 9 on home ice versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Marty St. Louis said that right now it feels like that, and it's not supposed to, because you're supposed to progress and get better. Now, Chris, I'll leave you with this, and I'd love to get your take, because you talked about fire wagon hockey and the open hockey they play. I didn't see a structure last night. I'm sure their intentions were good going into the game. They looked like a team that was playing garage league hockey last night. They looked like they were a team on a pond wanted to play pond hockey. They looked like individuals. They didn't look like a group. They're probably a second-line centerman down going into the season, maybe even a second-line winger. Then they lose Patrick Laine, Alex Newhook, and Kirby Dach. They lose an entire line. So now they're probably 4 or 5 forwards down. Chris, you not only played, but you also coached, head coach, assistant coach. You did it all in hockey. When you don't have the horses and your goalies are struggling, you're supposed to play the most defensive hockey of your lives to protect them and to give yourself a chance to win, because you're already depleted.
Yeah, Tony, I was at the LA game, okay? When they come out of their zone, the Habs, LA played a 1-4 with the 2 forwards a little higher than the D-men covering the walls. And they were doing that in the first period. The Canadiens have a hard time coming through the neutral zone. They turn pucks over. It's another version of the trap.
Yes.
And they turned pucks over and frustrated them all game. They snuffed them out all game. And then, when they had a full control, LA, the Habs would go 1-2-2. Now, when you do 1-2-2 and you got 2 defensemen coming up the ice at you, and you're right in the middle of both of them, makes no sense. And they were making a pass from one of those D all the way up the middle as someone come across between the defensemen and the forwards. And they chip it in and away they go. When you trap like that, and they do it on line changes when teams change and they have a full control. But that first forward up the ice has to favor the non-puck carrying defenseman and make the other defenseman skate one way and take away the pass. And then what happens? If he beats that first man, the winger jumps him and the middle's covered by the weak side winger. That's how you trap him in the neutral zone. And this team, with the quickness and speed, if they're able to do that, are going to be able to feed off of turnovers, create 2-on-1s, and scoring opportunities. And when you don't have a full complement of players and you're trying to play a game that isn't suited for some of them, you're going to have a tough time. They're going to struggle. They're struggling to keep those high. What are they? Goals against? They're 4th worst in the league.
Chris, Brian Wilde is standing by. Last question I'll ask you. Are you worried about the Canadiens? 10-7-3 is their record after 20 games. The record is good. Anyone would have taken it before the season started, but 2 weeks ago, they were first in the Atlantic, second in the East, and today they're out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, listen, I am worried. And, people think I was crazy because last year I said they weren't going to make the playoffs. We know how they made it. And God bless them. They worked their butts off the end of the season. That last game, all them players out. So they got in. God bless them. And this year I said they'd be nipping at 16. Maybe right there. But they might not make it again. That's what I said last year, and I had to stick by that. Did I readjust the beginning of the season? No, it was a great start. I hope they make it. I hope they make it. But, boy, it doesn't look good. The injuries, the size of this team, they're going to run into big teams. And if they do make it and all of a sudden have to stop playing playoff hockey with not such a big group or a healthy group, it's a long season. But, boy, you never know. It just doesn't look good right now. It looks terrible right now. Goaltending, the way they play defensively. Defense wins. I don't care. Yeah, you got to score. But if you can't play defense, you're in trouble.
Chris Nilan, you've had a one-man tour going since last year. I had a chance to watch to be there one night with Agnello. It was unbelievable. I know you've had a couple recently. Is there anything lined up going forward here?
Nothing yet. We just did one at the Da Vinci Center. It was awesome. It's a great theater, great people. They were so accommodating, nice people. Really, the venue was awesome. I felt it was a lot of fun to be able to do it there, and just a great night. And it was a lot of fun at Lorenzetti Foundation. I'm glad to be part of the Mental Health Foundation. Barry's been really a big backer of getting me out there and telling my story, and I'm certainly a willing participant. There's no question.
Chris, thanks for doing this on a Friday night. I appreciate it.
Tone, anytime. Great to see you, buddy. Love you.
Nice to see you too. I love you too, Chris Nilan. One of my childhood idols growing up. Guy Lafleur was the first one, and then Chris Nilan was right after him. Let's bring in Brian Wilde.
Brian Wilde, presented by Fruiterie Dollard. Fresh foods and flavors for over 30 years.
Fruiterie Dollard is a family-run business, a mainstay in the Lasalle community since 1995. Proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors they have for the past 30 years. From fresh fruits and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches, you'll find personalized service and friendly faces that make you feel like family at Fruiterie Dollard. Brian Wilde, thank you so much for standing by. I know you've been waiting for a while. Not every day to speak to Chris Nilan anymore. He's not that often on podcast, radio, or television, so I obviously took advantage of the opportunity. Brian, you're smiling a little bit because the second time
that's why I'm smiling.
Well, it's the second time you and I see each other. So you know what? Why don't we do this in all transparency? We want to tell listeners what happened today. So listen to this. So as you know, for the last week, I was promoting, maybe the last couple of weeks, I was promoting a fundraiser, Barks and Bubbly, which was tonight at the Atwater Club to raise funds for dogs rescued from shelters and stuff like that. An amazing event, $100 per ticket, open bar, music, delicious food, tax receipt available, all that stuff. And you could have bought tickets through Accent My Event. It's a dear friend of mine, Elena Kratsios, and her husband, Anthony Adamo. And I was supposed to be there. So Brian came in to see me in studio earlier today. I also wanted to watch. I was going to be doing radio from 7 to 8. I wanted to watch a little bit of the Laval Rocket game and then make my way to the fundraiser. I was going to pre-record the podcast today. I was going to pre-record it. And we waited, Brian and I waited till about 3:30 p.m. to actually record it because we said, if nothing's going to happen in terms of call-ups or press release or this or that from the Canadiens up until 3:30, nothing's going to happen. So we taped the podcast, and we taped probably, I think it was a 68-minute podcast, which started at 3:30 and it ended at 4:38. So Brian's on his way. I leave. By the time I clean up the studio and everything like that, I get out of the studio. It's 4:58. I'm driving, Agnello's driving in his car with Sammy, and I get the notification at 5 p.m. that Florian Xhekaj has been called up from the Montreal Canadiens. So I said to Agnello, you're not gonna believe this. What? He says Florian Xhekaj got called up. Out of the respect and the big respect that we have for you, our listeners and our viewers, and look, I'm no hero by any means, but I just want to let you know, we scrapped the entire podcast, which was a great podcast. It was a great podcast. We scrapped the entire podcast because we didn't have the news of Florian Xhekaj being called up. So Agnello picked up the phone and contacted Chris Nilan and Brian Wilde and asked them if they can both comment. Chris, we thought would have been great because Florian Xhekaj got called up, and obviously to talk about Arber, and Brian Wilde to talk about the goalie situation as well as his thoughts on Florian, Arber, and much more. And they both agreed to do it tonight. I then picked up the phone and I called my buddy Anthony and I said, please extend my apologies to Elena, but I know I promised to be at that fundraiser tonight, and I'm sorry, work has to come first. I did a podcast so I could be at your fundraiser tonight, but when we left, the Canadiens recalled Florian Xhekaj, so we scrapped the podcast and we're going live at 10 o'clock, and here we are. Brian, thanks for doing it again for a second time.
No problem at all.
Your thoughts on the Canadiens recalling Florian Xhekaj at 5 p.m.?
Well, I was going to talk first of all about that it happened at 5 p.m. I think that indicates that they waited all day to see how Jake Evans was doing, and they hoped for good news and thinking that he could play, and then they finally decided that he couldn't play, or that would have been done when it's done all the time at around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And sometimes you wait until that deadline for when you have to pay the guy what league, whether it be in the minors or the majors. So it doesn't usually come that late at 5 o'clock. We usually get away with recording it if you have something special like that tonight, Tony, but we didn't. So to me, that says that Xhekaj plays tomorrow, or they wouldn't have waited that long. They also didn't play him tonight, so they want him fresh. So I think we get to see him tomorrow. I would be very surprised that, they called him up just to sit. So I'm expecting Jake Evans to not play.
Yeah, it could very well be. And if Jake Evans plays, well, then I would expect, maybe Joshua Roy to not play.
Maybe.
But look, Jake Evans has had 4 documented concussions. And I would hope that, there's no reason to have him play tomorrow. And as, someone who suffered 4 concussions himself, I could tell you that some of them I felt right away, like the symptoms come bang like that. Others, the symptoms only started to come out 3 or 4 days later. And then I'm like, I don't feel good. There's something wrong. So Evans might feel good tomorrow morning, and he might feel absolutely awful on Tuesday.
And you have to, like the National Football League, we're certainly not the leaders in concussion protocol, but they are the leaders now. You have to go through a 7-day protocol in the NFL. You do not in the NHL. There was a point in the NHL where they did have 7-day protocols. You had to do SCAT tests and SCAT2 and keep passing over and over again. All of the answers in that you had to get right. That's not in the league anymore.
Yeah.
People didn't really track that changed. If he has concussion symptoms, they can be negligent and just put him in the lineup. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of coaches and general managers in big game moments have been doing that since they dropped the 7-day protocols in the NHL.
Yeah.
But you can see how responsible the Canadiens are. He didn't even come back for the 3rd period. And I was told in the locker room on Thursday night as well that he did leave only because of an abundance of caution. Not that he was feeling anything, but that perhaps he could, like you mentioned, it can be latent and come in 3 days later. They've been a really good organization about concussions. They've got a very serious medical staff that's taking care of them short-term and long-term. I'm really proud of that because I've seen it not be taken care of in an intelligent and thoughtful manner for the long-term health of the players.
And Brian, there's a lot of comments coming in on the YouTube chat saying, no, Evans is definitely going to play because Joshua Roy got sent down. No, I want to show you. I want to show you the tweet from the Laval Rocket. The initial tweet was that Joshua Roy was going back down to Laval and Florian Xhekaj was being called up by the Canadiens. Later, the Laval Rocket issued an erratum saying that the Canadiens have recalled Florian Xhekaj from the Laval Rocket. Joshua Roy remains with the Canadiens. So Joshua Roy has not been sent down. He's still with the Montreal Canadiens. So once again, it leads everyone to believe that Evans probably won't play tomorrow. And by the way, it should be noted that Florian Xhekaj is a left-handed centerman who can also play wing. So if Evans is not playing, well, then you have a right-handed centerman in Suzuki, a right-handed centerman in Kapanen, a left-handed centerman in Joe Veleno, and a left-handed centerman in Florian Xhekaj. It'll probably look like that. Want to give a shout-out to some of our sponsors. Point S is actually one of them. If you still haven't bought your winter tires, time's running out. If you're in Quebec, you have until December 1st to get your tires installed. The good news is you can pick up GT Radio tires at Point S starting at $89 per tire. Visit point-s.ca to shop for GT Radio tires or to find your nearest Point S location. Who do you have tomorrow night between the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs? Go all the way with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Bittt Tibi launched their Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those cool fall days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Also pretty good in the winter. Thank you very much. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing. All right, okay. Brian, what are you expecting from Florian Xhekaj? Because I think a lot of people are excited. I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, this means that the Canadiens they're going to be physical tomorrow. They're going to be hitting. They're going to be ready to drop the gloves. But Jared Davidson, Josh Anderson, Arber Xhekaj, Jaden Struble, they're all guys who are capable of dropping the gloves. They're all guys who are capable of being physical. And they weren't much of that last night. So why would it be different for Florian Xhekaj? Your thoughts?
Because it's an organizational message being delivered right here. That's why it's different. This is a wake-up call. If you were slumbering, if you were asleep, if you thought that you didn't have to use your body, if you thought that the Canadiens were going to just feel like they could beat everybody by skating, even though they were trying to pound you to the ground, this is an organizational message from Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton. Enough. No more. This is the guy we're bringing. We are going to expect from him that he delivers a lot of hits, that is very aggressive, that he may get in a fight. And here's the message that we told you at the postmortem, that we think we need more muscle. And you forced us to deliver the message that right now, this moment, we need more muscle. Or it would have been Owen Beck.
You're absolutely right. Or it would have been Owen Beck. By the way, speaking of recalls, a lot of people have been calling for Jacob Fowler. I spoke to Pierre Maguire last night. He wants to see Jacob Fowler play that hockey game tomorrow night for the Montreal Canadiens. Eric Belanger, who played in the National Hockey League, also coached in Three Rivers. He wants to see Jacob Fowler start that hockey game tomorrow night for the Montreal Canadiens. Anthony Martineau, one of my collaborators on my French show from TVA Sports earlier today. Eric Oziel, another one of my collaborators, also from my French show, Le Sick Podcast, du lundi au vendredi à 10h le matin, from Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. in the morning on this same YouTube channel. He wants to see Jacob Fowler. Mario Charpentier, one of my friends and one of our sponsors for the French show and one of my lawyers, he sent me a note. He wants to see Jacob Fowler. So I don't know if he's going to see Jacob Fowler. Actually, he can't see Jacob Fowler because we're going to show him videos. I had a chance to catch up with Jacob Fowler, Brian, yesterday afternoon. It was an interview that was taped at around 1:15 in the afternoon because Fowler was on the ice when my show was going on. I could have played it last night, but I chose not to because after the game between the Canadiens and the Capitals, I thought everyone wanted to talk about the game between the Canadiens and the Capitals, and that's exactly what happened. So I played the Jacob Fowler earlier this morning, which you can hear in its entirety if you go find it on our YouTube channel. Was the show from this morning. It lasted about 15 minutes. But I have 4 clips that I'm going to show you right now just to give you a little bit of a sneak preview if you haven't seen it already. One of which is on how much hockey he watches or doesn't watch. Another one was his time at Boston College and how much it prepared him for the next step, which is the Laval Rocket. Another one is him being around the rink. And the other one is on all the hype surrounding Jacob Fowler. So many people comparing him to, well, he's a hybrid of Hasek and Brodeur and Price and Roy, and he's the next great goaltender up and coming in the National Hockey League. And I asked him how he deals with all that hype and all that pressure. So on that note, let's play all those 4 clips back to back. A lot of hockey when you're not playing hockey.
I do. Probably, I don't want to say too much, but I've always liked watching hockey. You know, my dad always would subscribe to all the NHL kind of services, that any condensed games or recaps, you know, it was always at the click of a button for me. And I never looked at it as watching film as much as I always liked watching the best players, you know, have good nights. And you always love watching the highlights, whether it's nice goals or big saves. You want to watch what makes the game so great. I think that's why I grew up loving it so much. And, you know, I still play forward and goalie all the time, even in the summers, just because, you know, for me, getting away from the game, so to say, is just being around it even more. You know, that brings me comfort, and that's brought me joy my whole life. And fortunate for what the game's given me to this point. BC prepared me really well for pro hockey. You know, we had a staff that had spent a lot of time in the professional leagues and had experience. So, you know, I think it wasn't as crazy of a jump as, maybe under 18 to junior, but I think the biggest thing is just the pace is always going to be a little bit faster. I think even that short period I got to play in the NHL preseason, you see an even quicker pace up there that you always want to be ahead of the play. You don't want to just be on par. You want to be ahead and you want to be beating every play. So just respecting how quick the game can turn, and you can't cheat the game. That's about it. Kid that the more I can be around the rink and be around the game is what I'm happiest. I think guys like time off in the summer, but I think waiting around for the season to start is one of the worst feelings. For me, it was always I hated losing or when the season would finish, because then it was just waiting for your next year to start, and you're just in that constant mode of working, not getting to play. And you're always going to watch the highlights, even here whenever you're eating breakfast in the morning or go home. You're always going to be around the game, especially in a market like Montreal. And I think I've grown to enjoy that even more since I've been here. When I got to see their support, when the Habs went on that run at the end of the year to get into the playoffs, and when they did, to see the support of the fans and everyone around the city, like it actually blows my mind to see how much people care and enjoy the game. And being able to go to a couple playoff games last year gives you goosebumps. It's a special place to play hockey, and to be around people that enjoy the game the same way I always have. It's there's not very many places in the league and in hockey in general that are like it. And it's really hard to put it into words. I think less of a mental look at it. It's more of just to even sometimes see your name in that category, you kind of almost laugh a bit, because, again, those are guys that not just that I've looked up to, but everybody in the game of hockey, knows how good they were and what they've done for the game. And for me, it's just nobody's going to put more expectations or more pressure on anyone than myself. And for me, it's just trying to live up to be the best version of myself that I can. And I think that's what I'm chasing on a daily basis. I think the results come from that. Your process of what you do every single day, what no one sees during the summer. I think that's what really makes guys, separate themselves. And for me, I'm a young guy. I turned 21 here pretty soon. For me, it's just doing the right things on a daily basis that all these habits can build, that, year after year, game after game, I can keep building my game to be who I think I can be. And I think it's pretty exciting.
Brian, speaking of the Laval Rocket, a 4-3 win earlier this evening at Place Bell in Laval versus the Belleville Senators in overtime. Luke Tuck, 1 goal and 1 assist. He was one of the 3 stars. David Reinbacher, 1 goal, 1 assist. He was one of the 3 stars. Laurent Dauphin had a couple of assists. Deneen had a goal as well. And Adam Engstrom scored the game winner in overtime. Capo Kakinen stopped 19 of 22 shots. And the big question is, will Jacob Fowler be in goal tomorrow? Brian, is it safe to say that if the Canadiens didn't call up Fowler today, that it will be either Montembeault or Jakob Dobisch tomorrow night in goal for the Canadiens?
Oh, yeah, very much so. Yeah, I don't think there's any chance that Fowler is going to be the goaltender in Montreal. I want to talk about that interview for 5 seconds. What I heard there? I heard a guy saying, I can't wait for the roar of the crowd at the Bell Center. Yeah. And then follow it up with, I can't wait to hear the roar of the crowd in Boston, and I can't wait to take it away from them. In the old PK Subban lore.
PK Subban what it felt like. PK Subban with Pierre Maguire, right?
That's what it felt like. That's exactly what it felt like. He can't wait to get to the NHL. He's excited. He's not nervous. He's not afraid. He thinks it's his destiny. He's excited that he's in a hockey city. It doesn't frighten him. It's a joy for him. He can't wait for the excitement of 21,000 instead of shying away from it and being in a dead hockey market where he doesn't have that kind of fear. I mean, all of those answers were perfect when I'm listening for, does a guy want the moment or is a guy afraid of the moment? Because that's, as you can see in goaltending, it's a lot. It is a mental game. It's an emotional game, besides being obviously a physical game for them.
Yeah, he had a nice smile on his face the entire time. Seems like a very personable guy. He's a great personality. He was telling me that he rooms with Tyler Thorpe as well, so they get along great. Amazing stuff. And listen, we can't
wait for him too, but I don't think it's time.
No need.
I don't personally think it's time. I was surprised that all of your collaborators all agreed that he should come up. That's a lot of people on a 50-50 prop.
Yeah.
Because my take on it is short term. Maybe you want to hunt him down because you need wins so badly. But long term, you got to look at the big picture here. And I think Kent Hughes and Gorton, moreover, look at the big picture, and they're going to wait on that to make sure that he's ready when he finally gets there. He's a young man still.
Yeah,
goaltender,
but
20.
Brian,
that's defense. Yeah.
Once again, I got a different opinion. Like I said, I wouldn't have called him up, but I respect their opinion of saying what's the worst thing that can happen. So let's say you call him up. He has a good game or he has a bad game. And if he has a bad game, his career's not down the drain because of one bad game. He's only 20 years old and he'll bounce back.
100%. Yeah.
I respect their opinion as well. I just think that it's so right now. Look, Chris Nilan talked about it. The system is nowhere near where it should be. They played last night like a game of pond hockey, and I don't want them playing a game of pond hockey in front of him. Now, maybe they played a game of pond hockey because they realize that their goalies are so nervous that they actually have no other. I don't know what it is. I want to keep them away from Montreal right now. It's going good in Laval. Keep on going in Laval and build them up even more. You know, when there's no rush here, even though everyone wants there to be a rush, there's no rush. So anyway. That's that. By the way, speaking of Laval Rocket, I have something interesting for you. Look at the scouts that were at the game tonight. Nashville had 2. St. Louis had 1. Buffalo had 1. Winnipeg had 1. Minnesota had 1.
Wow.
Tampa Bay had 1. The Rangers had 1. Chicago had 1. Utah had 1. Anaheim had 1. Colorado had 1. Philadelphia had 1. Jasmin Leroux of RDS is definitely not a scout. Okay. But he's on that list as well. Okay. You know what I find interesting here is that
wow.
You know what I find interesting here is that I think a lot of those scouts were at the Bell Center the night before, notably Nashville that had 2 scouts at the Bell Center last night. And then tonight,
maybe Toronto for tomorrow too.
And then
so what are we going to do on the night before we go to the Leaf game? We're already at the hotel. Maybe go take in a Laval Rocket game.
Could be that.
Or it could mean something more.
Or it could mean, you know what? Maybe we're talking with the Montreal Canadiens and let's see what they have on the big team and let's see what they have on the farm.
Mm-hmm. Well, they got a lot of nice young players. I mean, I made a call to the Wild the other day where I think there's a little bit of underachieving going on there right now from guys they want to perform better because there's some of their top prospects like Owen Beck, for example, is having a classic sophomore slump. David Reinbacher's got to start showing a little offense that made him number 5 overall.
Reinbacher he was phenomenal tonight.
That goal is really nice, but he took a shot off him and he almost looked like he was injured again. Doesn't seem to have any luck, but he finished the game, so it looks like he's okay. But they are doing well in the standings, but I think overall some of the prospects that are their grade A ones, they'd like a little bit more from, you know, like Thorpe I don't believe Thorpe has a goal, for example. I think they were thinking that he'd do something. Tuck got 1 tonight, you said?
Yes, he did.
So that's only his 2nd. So there are some guys that they'd like to be doing a little bit more. Like Dauphin's a nice story, but he's 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a cup of coffee at best at this point. So,
Brian, so once again, the goalies, how do they get out of this? Because once again, you believe that they're going with Montembeault and with Jacob Dobish. No call up from Laval, at least not yet. Anyway, Montembeault was on the ice 45 minutes before his teammates were on the ice with Montreal Canadiens goalie coach Eric Raymond and Alex Burrows, who's a former Canadiens assistant coach, still with the organization, helping out in development. They had the iPad out, and of course, they were taking a lot of videos of his lateral movements left to right and right to left. Does that lead you to believe that he needs extra work and it's Dobish tomorrow? Or does that lead you to believe that they're working on things that they have to work with him to get him prepared for tomorrow night?
Well, I think it just means that he talked to his goaltender coach and the staff, and they decided to concentrate a lot on his angles, and so they're doing the work. I think it was Montembeault saying, let's go out early. I'm not where I want to be. Show me what I look like on the ice. They keep saying I've lost my net. Let's take a look at it by bringing the iPad out there on a tripod so we can see where I am in my net, where I'm losing it, why I'm losing it. And I mean, it's just It's part of being a professional. You got to figure out as fast as possible what's gone wrong. And I know that he loves the game. I know that he cares about the game. And I know Sam wants to figure this out fast, but it hasn't happened yet. And we're already a quarter of the season through. And so for him, that's probably the longest bad stretch of his entire career. He's been a pretty consistent 900 goalie. So he's just taking this seriously, and he wants to figure this out. And so they do the work. That's all you can do is do the work and hope you can figure it out. Do you still have that handy, what the save percentage has been in the last 29 days?
I do.
Yeah.
Since October 23rd, here you have it. Montembeault, 700 versus Washington, 870 versus Boston. When he came in versus Dallas, it was 667. 926 versus Utah, 905 versus Philly, 824 versus Ottawa, and 793 versus the Edmonton Oilers. Dobish, when he came in last night versus Washington, it was 840. It was 870 at Columbus, 615 versus Dallas, 857 at Jersey, 857 at Seattle, 903 at Vancouver. Is there something that you notice in these starts for both Montembeault and Dobish since October 23rd? Is there something that stands out besides the fact that the numbers are terrible? Or is there something else?
Yeah, for sure. To me, what stands out is that they're actually, they got 24 square feet to take care of, and by the time some of the shots are finished, they're only taking care of 12, and half of their body is headed to Moose Jaw in the corner after shots. Like the Frank one from the angle coming down on the left side, Montembeault definitely lost his net, and then Dobish lost his net too on a shot, and Milano's goalie finished out of the net too. So my answer to that is pretty obvious. There's a lot of moments where these guys are not even in the cage for some reason, and I cannot figure it out why there's so much movement. Even on Frank's goal, he's right in the middle. The first one, he's in the middle of the ice, Tony. And there's no pass or anything. There's no lateral movement for Sam to make. And as he tries to grab it with his glove, he's actually moving like this with his body. Like the basic fundamental of doing well is in sports entirely. Catching is one of it. Is a still head. Like, what's the first thing they tell you when you're swinging a golf club? Keep your head still. That doesn't move. Tennis. I play a lot of tennis. You go like this. You sweep across the ball, but your head stays the same. Right there, it does not move. And the reason is you know exactly where your contact is. Catching's the same thing. You don't see a guy doing this. You gotta, you meet the thing with a still head. It helps you to see it better. So I don't understand why he's moving through everything all the time like this. Just stand still, catch the puck. And because his 40-footers, his 50-footers, as I mentioned this afternoon, I'll mention it one more time, Tony, because that one's never going to get on the air. Martin Biron mentioned that the league average in long shots is a save percentage of 968, and Sam's is 900. And that's a phenomenal number because 900 on a 40-foot shot, a 50-foot shot is horrendous.
Got to change
gimmies. Those are gimmies.
Got to change the contacts. Maybe need a stronger contact.
I don't know what's going on. But Brian, every fan is on Skype or on Blue Sky is saying to me, "Why is he missing so many long shots?" Their eye test is correct. He is missing a lot of them.
Marty St. Louis protected his goalies at the end of practice today, which, by the way, was a practice that lasted 35 minutes tops. But Marty St. Louis says it didn't last long, but it's the most intense practice that they've had all season. He really ran them into the ground, and it was very, very intense. Now, he always protects his players in the media, but I got the feeling last night when he pulled Montembeault after goal number 3 on his 10th shot that Marty had enough. It was almost like his way of saying without saying it, I've protected you. I can't protect you anymore. I'm not messing around. I'm starting to lose patience. We need to win games, and I'm not going to keep you in there because 3 is going to end up being 5, and 5 might end up being 7. I have no time to waste. Make a goalie change. It was not much easier for Jacob Dobish, who gave up 4 on 24 shots. But I want to bring back that chart. And there's something that the chart says to me. All right. 11 starts between Montembeault and Dobish since October 23rd. And in Montembeault's 6 starts, only 1 was on the road. And in Dobish's 5 starts, only 1 was at home.
Think they can switch that up?
Well, I'm just like, the games are supposed to be easier when you're at home. Like, statistically speaking, in the history of hockey, right? You have a better record. Teams have a better record at home than they do on the road. And you have the last line change. And of course, you have the crowd, which is the extra player and all that stuff. And it's curious that Montembeault, since the 23rd of October, has only started one game on the road. And by the way, it was on October 23rd, that game in Edmonton. So since October 23rd, he has not started any games on the road. They've all been at home.
It was the same pattern last year too.
Yeah.
Dobas was mostly road games because early in the year he was asked about what it was like at the Bell Center in terms of the crowd, and he made a comment to something like, "It was very rare for me to actually play a home game, so it was pretty cool." Was his comment?
Yeah, I wonder what it would be like though if Dobas would play most of his games at home and Montembeault would play most of his games on the road. We'll probably find out. We might not. So, Brian Wilde, if you have to give me a prediction, who's the starting goaltender tomorrow night, in your opinion?
I really think it's going to be Montembeault again. The extra work kind of told me today that he was preparing for something soon, though that doesn't have to be the case. I think they'll go back to the number one goalie, supposedly, on the team because that's the one that Martin St. Louis has relied upon for a very long time. So he has a very long kind of tenure of confidence with that goalie, even though it's not going well now. And the expectation is if they said the sentence to you, they would say, the guy that got us to the playoffs last year and the guy we've always relied on was this guy. So that's the guy they'll go back to. But more than who the goalie is, Tony, for me, what they have to do is sort of what Chris talked about a little bit, is like, you got to be playing really tight hockey right now. Like, how do you get a goaltender out of a slump? Make sure that even though the team is 8th best in high danger chances allowed in the entire NHL, so the narrative that they're terrible defense is wrong. They're 8th best, in fact, in giving up high danger, medium danger, and low danger chances. So they're really good defensively, in fact. But they're going to even have to tighten up even more, because the only way you're going to get a goalie out of a slump is that he's going to win the game and he's going to feel like he handled the game. And the reason that he feels that way is because he got 1 high danger chance again, two medium danger chance, and 4 low danger chances. And that's how he's going to win the game and get out of his doldrums. And that's how the confidence of the players is going to rise too. It's going to happen defensively. They're not winning 7-5 when they finally win. They're winning 2-1.
Brian, I can't thank you enough for doing this again for a second time today. Once again, for those who missed what we said earlier, I had a fundraiser tonight. And I was doing radio between 7 and 8. From there, I was going to go to a fundraiser. I had you come into the studio earlier today. We waited till about 3:30 to record because we thought by 3:30, if there was no news from Laval, there wouldn't be any news. You came in, we recorded. It went on for 68 minutes. We finished recording at around 4:38. You left. I stuck around for about 20 more minutes, cleaned up. I left with Agnello and Sammy. Once we got into the car, 2 minutes later, I got a notification that Florian Xhekaj was called up. I called Agnello. I told him. He said, we can't play the podcast out of respect for our listeners, our viewers, our audience. I said, you're 100% right. I agree with you. He contacted Chris Nilan and you, asked you both if you can come on for about 30 minutes apiece. You both said yes. We decided to scrap the 68-minute podcast that we did. And once again, we don't want to meddle or this or anything, but folks, you know, sometimes probably some of you wonder, you know, how much, we know that you appreciate us, and you're probably wondering how much we appreciate you. Well, I'm going to tell you that there are radio stations that at a certain time will play replays of earlier in the day. And when they're playing those replays, well, earlier in the day, that news hadn't happened yet. And even though they get the advance notice and they can still do something about it and either take that show off the air or have guys stay and do overtime or have guys do shows or hits from home, they don't. And that's okay because that's their prerogative. But I don't believe in stuff like that. And neither does Agnello and neither do we at the Sick Podcast. Speaking of podcasts, there are podcasts, and I'm not naming anybody. There are podcasts that give you content. And they give you content every day. But what you probably don't know is they tape about 5 podcasts on a Sunday, so they have the rest of their week, or they tape them on a Monday morning, so they have the rest of their week. I spent all summer at home, and I taped every podcast every single day. I stayed by my computer while people were at the pool or out or taking bike rides or going downtown or going to the old port. I waited by my computer to see if there was any information that was coming out, any news on the wire, anything regarding Canadiens. And once I found something, that was our topic for the night. And so we don't cheat our audience. So we know you love us. And just so you know, we love you a lot too. Brian Wilde, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I love you too, bud.
Love you too, bud. Hey,
Thanks,
Tony, it's the job. Do it well or don't do it at all. Simple as that.
That's what we believe in. Thank you, Brian.
Cool. All right,
appreciate it. All right. Thank you very much for all of you watching, and we very much appreciate it. Once again, special thanks to all of our sponsors. And without you, we can't do it. And obviously, it's because of you that we give free content to absolutely everybody. So thanks again. Have a great rest of the Friday night. Have a great weekend. The Laval Rocket play tomorrow afternoon against the Belleville Senators once again at 3 p.m. It looks like Jacob Fowler is going to get the start, unless something crazy happens. And you can check it out. Tune into Laval Rocket game tomorrow. Check out Sick Media. You can listen to the game on the Sick Podcast. We are the French digital audio voice of all Laval Rocket home games, and we're a very, very proud partner. We definitely are. RocketLaval.com. You can still pick up some tickets to catch the game tomorrow. And the beauty of it, you can actually catch the game at 3 p.m. at Place Bell in Laval, and then maybe make your way over to the Bell Center to watch the Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs tomorrow night at 7 p.m., or make it home to watch it, or go to a bar, go to an establishment, go to a friend's house. Anyway, it's a doubleheader tomorrow that could be a lot of fun. Once again, thanks for watching. Thanks to the Cavaleros and Master Control. It's the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.